Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old to history to anecdotes to really wherever our whims take us. The Suicide Squad has relaunched in 2021. New number one, new squad. A timely relaunch at the time of this recording because we're heading into the new Suicide Squad movie coming in August of 2021. The sequel-ish reboot-ish movie to the 2016 Suicide Squad. In a recent video we were highlighting the return of NOCTURNA, who reappeared in the Suicide Squad issue 2. A character who had been utilized a variety of ways since her inception in the 80s, but who also had a habit of disappearing, vanishing, sometimes for decades. But in that video there's a question that kept coming up, well, two actually. They're linked together and they involve Connor Kent, Con-El, Superboy. And that question was, why is Connor on the Suicide Squad, or the SS as some abbreviate it to? But given the other connotations that the SS has, I'm gonna keep saying the Suicide Squad. Shorter and faster isn't always better. It depends. Mileage varies. I had so many comments about this. I'm gonna read some of them. Wait, why is Superboy in the Suicide Squad? And is this the same Superboy in the Young Justice comic, where he's wearing his 80s inspired costume? 90s costume, but I get your drift. The shift in costume was drastic. So how many Superboys are there currently active in the comics? How did Connor end up on the Suicide Squad? Why is Connor on the Suicide Squad? Aren't they supposed to be all villains? Why is Connor on Suicide Squad? I like that they were just getting shorter and shorter. I just want one to be like, Connor, Suicide Squad, question mark? So what I'm getting from all of this is that the omniverse solved nothing. And also that not everybody read Future State Suicide Squad. Don't worry, we got this. Let's take a look at what Connor is doing on the Suicide Squad, and also which Superboy is he? And where did his 90s duds go? But before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Join us on this comic book journey. Let's answer some questions, because like most universe relaunches, reboots, retcons that are designed to make things easier to follow and to streamline them, it has actually made it a bit more confusing. Issue 3 of the Suicide Squad from 2021 is written by Robbie Thompson with art by Eduardo Pansica. The core of this issue is centered around Amanda Waller, wanting new at the time of this recording speedster Bolt for the squad. She's building this new squad. She feels the need for speed. Oh god. But we actually open on Nocturna, recapping Connor's origin for the audience. In all fairness, they did the same with Peacemaker last issue, but Peacemaker has been out of play in this iteration for decades, so that made sense. Connor was still being used in Rebirth, Dark Knight's Death Metal, and Future State, so it says a lot that he's still deemed this confusing for many. You know all this, Waller. It's embarrassing how long I stared at her symbol before it clicked that it was a moon. The shading made it look slightly skewed, okay? It tripped me out. I felt like I was falling over looking at it. Also, yes, this comic acknowledged that most people who would need to know this information, but they need to find a way to impart it to us anyway. The pretext is that Waller is testing Nocturna's mental powers. What was she able to get out of Connor when he was under her thrall? And she better get it right, because Waller already has JPEG set up, the correct JPEG, so match the right things. After Superman died, a bunch of idiots decided he needs to be replaced. Yeah, this is the tone of the book for the most part. Flippant, kind of caustic, a sardonic look at characters and events past. It's definitely a mileage may vary style. Some will find it funny, others abrasive, and some may be overwhelmed if most of the characters do it. For example, because of the tone and dialogue that is taken here, there's very little difference in the feel of what she is saying and what Peacemaker said last issue when he was talking about Connor and him being a bastard and all of that. So it kind of makes it feel like those characters are blending in a way, or don't have much of a differentiation between them. It gets a bit better later on, but some of it feels a bit samey. Also, some of the other characters are very different. One of them's just a flat out shipper. Doesn't ship what I ship though. Guess my ship. There's a vibe for some that Connor is being picked on in this series, a very leave Connor alone. Connor Kent was created in a lab, the fusion of Superman and Lex Luthor's DNA. How does that not mess with your head? Well, I mean, it did. There was a whole arc about it. He shaved his head because they're real committed to the whole bald equals evil when it comes to Lex. He even lasered an L into his t-shirt. It was great. Connor became Superboy. He joined Young Justice, and then the Teen Titans. And now this useless Boy Scout is somehow on the Suicide Squad. Only part he didn't tell me is how he wound up with the bad guys. I want to give a shout out to a commenter named Peter who let me know that those symbols are called agrolics. It's one of those things that I've wondered about but never actually bothered to look up. So to that I say,
thanks.
Learning. We learned something today, or at least I did. Also, I hope that Nocturna gets to rise above annoyed sass queen. But me lamenting her latest characterization aside, that was a decent and succinct recap that cohesively tied Connor's backstory together. Like, yeah, it's not perfect based on the timing of the more recent Young Justice, etc., but it's helpful. It's an okay, this is what you need to know, and this is the history that we're going off of, or seem to be at this point. So yes, E-Boy Superboy is the same as about to go to class Superboy. Waller says why he's there and how he's there is classified, so it's meant to be a mystery mystery to hook in readers and keep them there. Keep them invested, a little bit of what have they done to my boy? So Waller is using Nocturna to assess the mental state of the team, see if they have any serious team-ending beefs brewing. Specifically, she asks her about how it's going with Connor and Peacemaker, and I did like Nocturna's reply. First off, everyone hates Peacemaker. For the record, everyone likes me. Yes, he said that after inviting her to the laundry room. Is that what the kids are calling it these days? They did share a look last issue. He's not actually hitting on her. He wants to have a meeting where they can talk without being overheard, so he can hear what she didn't tell Waller. And this is an area where they can be seen but not heard. She tells him that there's something wrong with Superboy, that while he was telling her his backstory, it was as if, and I quote, it was like he was reading a Wikipedia entry. Look at Peacemaker's arms. His veins are about to explode. So many mysteries featuring Superboy, especially because when they go to get Bolt later, it looks like he warns her. It was a big reveal at the end of issue 1 that Waller had Superboy kept in kryptonite chains and at her beck and call. But if one followed Future State, it was less surprising. Now, Future State billed itself initially, or seemed to, as a quasi-Elseworlds affair-ish. The phrase was a glimpse of worlds unwritten or potentially unwritten. It was slightly differently phrased in certain books. Unwritten worlds of tomorrow. So there was a bit of a vibe that, oh, maybe this won't happen. Or at least that's what DC let people believe. But currently, every comic, or at least most of them, are hurtling towards the future setup in Future State. Things could change, time of recording and all that, but it looks like that's where a lot of this is headed. So if you enjoyed Future State, then get hype, and if you didn't, get down. Get sad. Don't get down. That's dancing. Get down too if you feel like it. If you read all of it like I did, even though I didn't talk about all of it because that was a lot of comics, then it also makes some of these things a bit anticlimactic because it seems to be heading towards a conclusion you've already seen. And it's more of a question of, okay, how do we get there? Maybe there'll be a big bait and switch. I'm kind of hoping. Future State Suicide Squad was also written by Robbie Thompson. Here's the cliff notes. Amanda Waller has created the Justice Squad, a twisted version of the Justice League built on the totalitarian eradication of crime. 3 of the members that are on that squad we have already seen in the Suicide Squad book of 2021 as of issue 3. We've seen Bolt, who will be the Flash, we've seen Talon, who will be Batman, we've seen Connor Kent, who will be Superman. She needed to fix the world by any means necessary. Here she says she picked Connor for her Superman because he was prepared not to be the Superman the world wanted, but the one it needed. But we also see that the events of Future State Suicide Squad are occurring on Earth 3, with Peacemaker trying to retrieve Waller with his own version of the Suicide Squad and return her to their Earth. It's one of those Waller is playing chess, but everybody else is arguing about the rules of Settlers of Catan type stories. But it does have Connor rejecting being a bad guy, so there's that. Even though he does kind of end up marooned on Earth 3. Will it all go down that way? Where is it going? Keep reading to find out. I have to say, the Suicide Squad book is getting better with each issue, even though you're supposed to buy Teen Titans Academy to see how the end of this story turns out in issue 3. That's good manipulation. Playing on that FOMO. Well, joke's on you, I have no FOMO. So yes, for those of you who are curious, that's what's going on with Connor on the squad, and that's with Superboy it is. Oh, do you still feel he shouldn't be there? Is Future State a state that you want comics to head towards? Do you conduct your secret tete-a-tetes in the laundry room? Answer all of that and more down below. Tell me what parts of the omniverse are confusing you the most at the time of this recording. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.